which one was out and people were seeing, you know?
Minnie was
Minnie.
exposed.
What do you find is harder to have exposed, Minnie or Mickey? Or do you find in your experience?
Minnie is Mickey. Minnie is Mickey in drag.
Minnie, yeah, right, I see, yeah.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Yeah, it's tricky, yeah. Well, it's really nice to have them sort of here, like, you know, I wish we could do Charlie McCarthy and that kind of thing, but they're, you know, this is our silent partner, right, in this, right?
All the time,
Yeah.
all day long.
Welcome very much to Conversation. Pleasure to welcome to the program Bill Talen, and he is also known as Reverend Billy, and he's here. And Reverend Billy, if I may, Reverend Billy, welcome very much to Conversation.
It's a pleasure to be here,
Network.
Mr. Channer.
It's a great pleasure here, and as I say, we have a couple of co-hosts here on either side of us, Minnie and Mickey Mouse.
Absolutely.
And they're relevant to what you've been doing. But you are, as I understand it, Reverend Billy, you are, as I understand it, an accolade or in the Church of
the Church of Stop Shopping.
Yeah, maybe you could talk a little bit about that, and then we got some roll-ins of some of the activities you've been going on. But talk a little bit about your congregation and your mission, your ecclesiastical mission that you've set for yourself.
What we do in the Church of Stop Shopping is we go into the Times Square Disney store.
Yes, I see. Right there at 42nd and 7th.
42nd and 7th Avenue.
That's it. Yeah, right.
And we perform what we call tourist farces.
Tourist farce. Yeah.
Usually, we go in imitating tourists ourselves.
Right. Yes, right. Yeah.
Just not so difficult to do. Just wear teal and you know, a couple cameras around your neck.
That's right. Pedal pushers in the summer.
Absolutely.
Lime colored pedal pushers are very popular. Yeah. And it's becoming a real center for that. Yeah, right, yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, right.
It's
They're coming
full of folks. And our basic objection to what has happened in Times Square in the last few years is that everyone's becoming tourists.
Yeah,
that's happening from a couple different angles.
Yeah.
One is that the people native to the culture of Four-Deuce are being harassed by police and retailers and so forth, and they're just getting, you know, the native stoop and sidewalk culture is just being blown away.
The traditional dentist.
It's the kind of thing that Jimmy Breslin talks about.
Yeah, Jimmy Breslin's guy.
He said the Times Square used to be a place where stories started.
Right.
And I take that
Damon Runyon used to do all this stuff. You know, Damon Runyon.
Is that right?
Yeah, sure, Damon Runyon. I was standing there on 42nd and Broadway, and who should come along but Harry the Horse? Yeah, it was all kinds of characters.
There you go.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, Harry the Horse would be in jail now.
Yeah, probably,
the victim of a quality of life campaign.
Yes, right.
So we go into the Times Square Disney store to finish the little vignette.
Yes.
And what we do is we become tourists ourselves, apparently, in the eyes of the Disney security.
Disney security.
And which, you know, there are like sometimes 20 or 25 people in there that are essentially security officials. They have different levels of security. Disney's a very paranoid company.
Yeah, right.
They're like the Scientology of the Fortune 500.
Oh, I see, right.
And
yeah.
so they have fun trying to figure out what nights the Reverend Billy and his friends come in.
How many of those security are assigned to you, and how many are just assigned to general security? I mean, have they got a good half the staff assigned
There's
to
no way
Reverend
to
Bill,
prove.
or what?
There's no way to prove
Bill,
whether they've increased their security staff as a result of the Church of Stop Shopping.
Yes, yeah.
We flatter ourselves that they've increased. There was a time when there seemed to be this sort of soldier of fortune, Nebraska-looking fellow who, you know, he was like a bouncer, but he got a PhD in bouncing.
Yes, right.
He was a strange fellow, and we didn't know where he came from. He was there just a couple of weeks, and he kicked me out once.
Yeah.
But what we do is essentially we try to make shoppers converse about what they're doing or become involved in our tourist farces.
I see.
We have many different, we've been doing this for almost a year now. We have many different strategies.
Right.
We will have marriage spats.
Yes.
Two of the people in the congregation will pretend to be a husband and wife, and they will have an argument, and the argument will be across the bow of a tourist standing there.
I see, right.
You know, fondling Mickey about to buy him or whatever.
Right,
And that person will become, you know, will freeze in the middle of this marriage spat in which the husband and wife are arguing about the relative merits of some tchotchke and the damage that might result in little, you know, Cynthia's mind as a result of taking Tigger home, you know, or whatever.
Right.
And so
should have been Tigger or Ehor. Should it be Tigger?
Yeah,
you could have an existential argument.
Absolutely.
Over that. Anything to match the people down at the Chelsea Hotel. Yeah.
And should the poo world have been purchased by, you know, should have been, why are the world of Pooh and Eeyore and Tigger sold to the Disney company in the first place?
Yes,
I mean,
that's right.
They're sort of wonderful.
Yeah, right.
They're the only Disney characters that don't smile.
Oh, really? Is that a true fact? You've become pretty well known.
Well, if you go in there, you're surrounded by 10,000 smiles.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And that's the basic totemic theory of the Disney people. Is when in doubt, you know, make that tchotchke smile.
Yeah, right.
We tend to bring the shopper out of that hypnosis.
Yeah, it's a somnambalistic stage.
For one reason or another, we have like 15 or 16 different techniques that we've evolved at this point.
Some shock therapy or something?
I would say the marriage spat is more like shock.
Yeah, right.
Honey, this little damn toy is too stupid for Cynthia. Come on.
I see. Right.
You know, and the shopper is.
Is
we especially we have some people in our Church of Stop Shopping who are educators.
Yes, right.
And they love to go in and argue at top volume the relative ups and downs, the merits.
Education's a big thing with all the presidential candidates now. You know, that's good.
Of course,
right.
Yeah,
you get
But in fact, of course, Disney's relationship to educating our youth is you know, suspicious at best. You know? When we go in and ask, you know, when we go in and pose as parents who are concerned about the education of our children, we're really, I mean, their idea of education is really stupid.
Is it really? Yeah, you think they're?
Have you been in there?
They're challenged. I have, but
You have?
No. Well, I was drugged.
Shopping?
I'm not shopping. No, I wasn't shopping. I was with a friend who was, and I was quite.
Hallelujah! You were with a friend who was.
I wasn't comfortable. I just wasn't.
Well, hallelujah, Harold. Watch yourself, and if you do sin, call me up.
Yeah, right. I
call
will.
me up.
Yeah, we need spiritual guidance.
Come to my website, and we'll try to deal with it.
You do have a website, Reverend Bill, right? Rev Billy.
Are we plugging now?
Rev Billy? No, well, why not?
RevBilly.com. Amen.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Right.
People talk to me about their shopping neuroses, and I try to counsel them.
Yeah.
Of course, I sin myself.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I do.
You purchase, right? You do shop.
Oh, I do
right?
purchase.
Yeah.
For instance,
do you actually shop?
These were purchased.
Yes, they were.
In the Times Square Disney
These
store.
were purchased. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You actually.
$96 each.
Yeah, really. That's a pretty good price, right? And probably sold and put together by people who are working for 20 cents an hour.
Absolutely. There's nothing in the Disney store that wasn't made in rural China or rural Indonesia.
Right. Amazing. Yeah. The internationalization, globalization, right?
Globalization comes to Times Square.
And it's changed the character of Times Square is becoming like you think, or you have a sense, right, that New York or Times Square is becoming like a theme park or something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or did you see with
the theme parkization of Times Square is almost complete now with the Writers Building and the Newhouse Building going on. Condé Nast buildings going on.
Yeah, well,
we're becoming drifting, narcoleptic little shoppers drifting up and down those corridors, and there's nothing to interrupt us. We're drifting. Those smooth edifices of the corporate fronts.
Yeah.
There aren't people there that don't have a commercial reason for being there.
Yeah, right.
The black Hebrews, bless their heart. Despite all the hate, they definitely. They are struggling to stay on Times Square, and they keep beating Rudy in court.
Yeah. They liven things up a bit, right?
Well, right. For the white people walking by, they really liven things up.
Yeah, right.
But good for them. Good for them. I mean, the idea of having an original viewpoint in public is more and more dangerous. And it comes right up against the Giuliani idea, the Michael Eisner idea of the reason you are a citizen is that you're a consumer.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Right.
And consumers have a very limited palate. They have certain things they do and certain things they don't do. Freedom of expression is supposed to all come through the buying and selling cycle.
Yeah, right.
So, wow, I find that just stupid. That's the dumbing down of America right there.
Yeah, that is part of it,
and it must be opposed.
And it's all part of the branding thing. You get a branding thing in Mickey Mouse is like the ears, the big ears. I mean, and the Mickey Mouse and the characters and everything of that
the
sort
most
of thing.
famous corporate logo in the world.
Yeah,
right
that's
here.
right next to Coca-Cola.
Our friend, Mortimer Mouse.
Yeah. Well, Fran Lebowitz was talking about it, and she said, why do we have to turn Times Square into a mentality to a 12-year-old the rest of the country is that way.
Right.
You know, I don't know. I mean, that might
we didn't move here to
to become Dubuque.
Necessarily make everything safe for the 12-year-old.
Yeah, right. And this message should, but you're coming up some really heavy-duty things when you start talking about, if you start to, I mean, I wouldn't want to go necessarily with you, Reverend. I mean, you know, you have to put yourself on the line. It's like you used to do. Well, you have to put yourself on the line, but it's dangerous stuff.
You don't
like,
live far from
I
Times
wouldn't
Square.
want,
Come on.
no, I just live around the corner,
Well,
you know, that kind of thing. But I mean, I wouldn't want to go, like, for instance, are you going to carry this beyond Times Square and Mickey Mouse? And I mean, I wouldn't want to get in.
It automatically does carry.
But I wouldn't want to get
Square.
a stop shopping kind of message at a red tag sale at Bloomingdale's or something like that. You know, there's other stores that you can do. It would be like you would be trampled like a herd of you know, people that are really into, or those white sales in January. You're not going to, you know, people are
savage.
You know, yeah, it's savage. It's savage territory. You're putting yourself in the face
their
of.
glands are shooting
Yeah,
off.
right.
They've got the crazy look in their eye.
And shopping is what America is about in very many ways. You know, I mean, you're really touching on some very, very heavy. You know, heavy-duty.
I think it's become different lately. I think some people say the business of America has always been business, and that we are a nation of shoppers. I think that's true to some extent, but it's a question of balance.
Yeah.
Lately, it's starting to look as if we are being seduced on a constant basis by products everywhere we go.
Television.
I live in downtown in the Astor Place area.
Yeah.
And it's increasingly the sensation of walking down the street is it's like turning the pages of a magazine, because every surface is covered by another 70-foot tall model looking at you like you just made love or something.
Yeah, right.
And it's just becoming, architecture's fading into the background, and badgering images are foregrounding.
Yeah.
Disney is in the forefront of all of this.
You think he is, yeah? He thinks it's standard by which they are
I choose Times Square and I choose the Disney company. They
Yeah.
are the logical. Times Square is the place, it's the stage.
Yeah.
Disney, Mickey Mouse is the most famous corporate logo. It's the logical villain in this piece. They are hijacking our culture, and everybody else looks, the other companies look to Disney's leadership.
I see.
The feeling that you have when you're in the Times Square Disney store is very, they are hypnotizing you from about 6 different angles all the time.
Yeah, and they've already had a heavy...
Very charged.
Yeah, and they've already had a lot of prerequisite courses by watching television and the kind of media culture that is so predominant in America now.
You feel your childhood memories being excited. You feel you feel your own personal experience being rearranged by Disney. You can actually feel that when you go. It's palpable.
Right. Yeah.
They have different levels of sound. They have stuff coming up out of the carpets, out of the ceiling, across. They've figured out the arc of the hand, where you tend to glance. All that's
they got it down. Yeah, Vance
and
Packard
we're just being hypnotized. That's all. And it's being. They have run away with the idea of free expression.
Yes, right.
Freedom of expression.
You think they have really?
They just hijacked the whole idea.
Yeah.
We have to take that back. And right now, it does feel very counterintuitive to try to do that.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm resigned to this feeling of being, you know, a clown out there by himself.
Yeah, well, it must have been like that with Chaplin and a lot of the other kinds
of things.
Things.
Thank you.
You know, I used to have a friend. I used to have a friend like Abby Hoffman used to feel that way when they went and threw the money on the.
Abby wasn't alone. He was he was leading the charge.
Well, yeah, he was the mother. You feel alone, right?
The old Yipster Times building is on my building and on my street, and I really look up to, of course, Abby Hoffman. But
Paul Krasner's still out there writing and doing stuff, and there's a few people like that, but not enough. Not enough people taking up the challenge, right? They're just accepting it and going along with it.
I think it's right beneath the surface
Mickey Mouse
of the average New Yorker.
Yeah.
Because what's happening in Times Square is happening in each of our neighborhoods.
Yeah. You mean around the city? You talk around the city, not to mention the country.
The sea of identical details.
Yeah.
Forget about the rest of the country. That's happening anyway.
Yeah,
you know?
the world.
But we didn't think it could happen here, and it is happening here.
Right.
I think that people are, at one point it might have been your sentimental engagement with a mom and pop store, a pharmacy or a bookstore. It's gone past that.
Yeah.
Now it's actually, we feel a certain sort of dullness as we walk through our own neighborhoods. Because the sounds and the sights are all commodified.
Yes, right.
And they're commodified from some distant place, and all the details are the same.
Yeah,
and you find yourself becoming an idiot.
Yeah, right. Keach Incorporated, right.
So that's the basic idea here. How do we violate that, interrupt the Reverend Billy's favorite phrase, the sea of identical details.
Uh-huh.
How do you go in there and start up, prime the pump, the idiosyncratic pump? You know, start getting real personalities going again.
Yeah.
People who've invented themselves.
Yeah.
We can't afford to. Well, the reason is we want to live our lives in an interesting way. And that's basically
sure.
what
Why
it comes
not?
down
I mean,
to.
a lot of people came to New York for that anyway.
Yes.
A lot of people came into this world for that.
Yes.
You know? And it's getting so homogenized. You know, it's getting so homogenized.
So how do you reverse that?
I don't know. I wonder what the limits are. You know, because you can't fire, you can't holler, you can't yell out fire in a crowded theater. Is it all right to go into a? I
go to a crowded store and
say stop shopping.
Essentially, let's
you want
stop
to do
what
that
we're doing.
on Christmas Eve and December 24
Oh,
when
I
you're
have
at
done
Macy's
that.
and go in there and say stop shopping? I mean, that could
Holidays
be really dangerous.
Are wonderful.
You know,
danger.
Yeah, I wonder judicially. You know, you can't fight. You can't
Might
say
be killed by shoppers.
Yeah, because shopping and buying and everything is such a tremendous
Well,
part of how
hallelujah.
people get their identity.
Hallelujah, if I have
You
to-
know, you're messing with people's identity and the way they get their identity buying these objects that have been made over
Yes,
Malaysia
but it
or
isn't an
something,
identity, is it?
No, isn't it? No, you
No.
think no? That's one of the questions. There's deep stuff here. Yeah,
It's not an identity.
No, it's not. No.
Shopping.
Yeah.
That's what they persuade you.
Yes.
They're persuading you in the ads.
Yeah.
They're looking at us and saying, get your identity by buying this car.
Absolutely.
Get your identity by buying this piece of clothing.
And this Mickey Mouse for the children, for
Don't
the kiddies.
don't tell your children stories yourself.
Yeah.
Let the Disney company mediate on your behalf.
And they do.
And I understand that each American gives, is it each American, each household gives the Disney company $65 a year.
Wow.
So, I mean, we are, as a culture, turning over the storytelling function to this one company.
Yeah.
And the stories are bad.
Yes, right. No. Well,
The happy endings of the Disney company, the characters who cannot possibly have the complex life of a real individual.
right, right.
They're always borrowing and cutting and pasting old mythologies
Right.
that don't really apply to our lives anymore.
Yeah.
Let's get over Disney.
Yeah, and,
I mean,
and creating the happy ending and the sunset and all these kind of images and everything that people do absorb and becomes part of their psyche. I mean, it's becoming part of the psyche of the country. But now, if you're going to come up against that, and so many people are for it, and they're popular in the market, they're doing well in the market, and you're
Yes.
also coming up against
More popular than me.
and coming up against an acceptance of the general proposition of the market uber alles, you know. I mean, are you not? Are you trying to run counter to that kind of a dictum that sort of runs rampant in this country, this city, and this world now, you know? Do you ever feel like you're up against some pretty heavy-duty institutions and thoughts and so forth? Must be a little lonely sometimes.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I feel I keep getting this feeling
Yes.
that we are close to, you've seen what's happened in France.
Yeah.
It's 750 McDonald's in France.
Yeah, that's right. They
In
got a
France,
McDonald's 200 feet from the nose of the Sphinx.
Yes.
In Egypt, 200 feet from the nose of the Sphinx.
They're trying to
The
replace
ancient
the old
Sphinx.
mythology.
Yes, right.
If you
McDonald's.
look to France,
Yeah.
there's some leadership there
Mm-hmm.
among regular folks,
Yeah.
among intellectuals. They have to sort of defeat their own intellectual tradition, which sort of is impotent in the face of commercialization. But they have Pierre Bourdieu. Do you know his work?
I don't know. Really.
We have wonderful people in France coming up and talking about the market in a way that shows real leadership. And dumping mountains
They
of,
did, didn't
of
they? Yeah.
rotten
Yeah.
vegetables on a McDonald's is
They
a
did that,
wonderful
yeah.
thing.
They did that,
to-
yeah. They did that, yeah. They
And of
did
course,
that
in
just
Moscow,
recently, yeah.
Moscow, they bombed the only mall in Moscow.
Yeah, just recently, yeah.
And for the first time, I saw that phrase, anti-consumerists, in the New York Times.
Yeah.
I can't condone that sort of. That's not my method. But
No. Yeah.
It's starting to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be opposition increasingly to the commodification of everything around us.
Everything, every human emotion, and they take emotions, they make it so kitschy. They make these emotions, and they market them as you say, as a commodity. Every
think that we
human
have to
emotion and thought and
self-induce.
everything is just turned into something to be sold. Yeah.
I think we have to self-induce. We have to find ways to create, we have to self-induce privacy. We have to self-induce private thoughts. We have to, this saturation, the corporatization is so thorough that one finds oneself all day long not having an interior life of one's own. So what we try to do in the Church of Stuff Shopping is we have a sort of a go right up to Mickey's face.
Yes, right. Yeah. Or Minnie.
Find a way.
Yeah. Or
bring up your own memory, your own story from your own life.
I see.
From long ago. Something that is as important to you as the Disney company wants this story to be to you.
Right.
And do kind of story combat.
Yeah, right.
And we do that on purpose.
Yeah.
You know? And then we meet at the Hojo's on 46th Street.
Yeah.
After getting out of the Disney store.
Yeah.
And we talk about our efforts to bring up our personal mythologies, our personal stories in the face of that product.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And people have mixed success. It's very difficult to do. Very difficult to do, to sustain your own private narrative.
Oh yeah, sure. Of course it is.
Yeah,
of course
it is. To do. They have been studying. You know, they've been giving psych majors six-figure incomes first year out of Stanford for so long.
Don't you remember
they
Vance
know how to appropriate your desire.
Do they ever?
So
they know how to
manipulate
the psyche.
We started late.
Yeah, right,
They've almost got us.
Yeah,
you know,
almost
we started very late.
There's only a few hangers-on to the human spirit.
Hallelujah, we're going to do it.
Yeah, you're going to do it. And that's what that's what the church is about, and that's the message. It is an important spiritual message as well as a thing that is appropriate at a theatrical level.
Of course, you can't say to a New Yorker that this is spiritual.
Yeah.
So I make it a joke.
Yeah.
I'm a joke. You know, I'm a joke preacher.
Right.
So should we go to the sidewalk preaching?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. We have. Why don't we just say we're talking, of course, with Reverend Billy here, and we're talking about a very important subjects and so forth. But he's got some tape. We got two roll-ins, right? We got two roll-ins that he brought of some footage that was shot in the street and in the
Disney
environs of Disney's store here in New York. And so why don't we set up that first tape, run that now, and then we'll come back and we might be able to talk over it a little bit as we do it. But if you'd set that up and run that first tape now, then please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
21 months, within 21 months, Disney will have purchased, bought out Murdoch, Turner, Gates, Sony, Mitsubishi, and the big German banks. They'll all go the way of the mouse. Mickey Mouse will take over.
Outside the store.
We will be led into the burning lake of fire, huddling little naked sinners in eternity. And then we'll look up at the mountain above the lake, and we'll beg that mountain to throw down its stones and crush us, change our consciousness, because we're so full of regret for having lived such intensely sinful lives. And then we'll look up at that mountain and we'll go, no, no, that can't be. That mountain has big round ears.
Yes.
That mountain is
Mickey Mouse.
Amen.
And this is the first time that I ever went in.
This is the first time you went in the store. Now, it's one thing to do it on the street, one thing to go in the store. We ought to talk about that, right? Yeah. Here you go into the Mickey Center. Yeah, I bet it would be. And you had a good camera crew with you, right? And going into the store, 7th Avenue and 30th.
People! Tourists!
People?
Listen to me! Mickey Mouse is the Antichrist. This is the devil. And the Disney store is turning Manhattan into a theme park.
42nd Street.
Please
Guys, can you get up
do not shop here. Save your souls, people. Save your souls.
Force the camera people back
You are
out.
entering now into a consensual hypnosis. A consumer narcosis.
Violating
Now
the
this is
shopping
outside.
ritual is a very strong position.
Violating the shopping ritual? It is.
People pick up on it very quickly.
Yeah, right, it is. And it's a very strong thing. And it will keep the economy going. This is really, if everybody stops shopping, imagine whatever. Now you're being sort of...
I'll be across the street if you need to talk to me, if you need some counseling. Hallelujah. The Antichrist! Amen.
I bless you, my brother. Bless you. Beautiful, beautiful. I love it.
Hey, that raised a lot of interesting issues. So you went into the store. That was the first time.
That was the first
time you did it, right? You know, like that. And you've been doing it. Had you been doing it outside for a while?
I was just terrified.
I was at it. You were terrified,
Oh.
but you were. It was frightening, right,
Yeah.
to go in. You had all these
really strange.
yeah,
feelings.
guys with the security, big guys, burly guys,
Just
and everything
very.
like that.
It
And
feels as inappropriate as anything I've ever done in my entire life. and
Really?
That's saying something.
That's hard to do. And that's really doing something, right?
very-
yeah, we could go
yeah.
into your career, but yeah, but because you've been doing theater and stuff out of San Francisco and so forth. But so that was really touchy. And going into a store like that, do you think it's different being on the street and going in? What if you're on the street? I can remember a march where they all stood around. There was a march. They had a thing one time when they went. There was a march. I forget what. It was censorship.
The sex
The time of
panic
the
people.
censor thing. They all stood there and they all stood on the corner and they said, "Kill Mickey! Kill Mickey! Kill Mickey!"
Oh,
there were
yes,
hundreds. They were
yes,
doing it and they were
yes,
attacking it like
yes.
that for a
Was
while.
it the sex
You know?
panic group?
No,
or-
it was the thing out of the censorship. They had a thing of censorship, and Robert McChesney and a bunch of other people were here. You know, media critics and that sort of thing were there. But they were just attacking it that kind of way from outside on 7th Avenue and so forth. Going into the store is a different proposition than being outside? Or have you run up against
There's a
what the
strange
law
sort of
has to
hush.
say about somebody who is saying to the huddled multitude, instead of them all saying buy this, buy this, buy this, to having somebody who says don't buy, don't buy, don't buy. You're
It's
running
very
against some
strange.
heavy-duty
It's
forces.
very strange.
Yeah, the advertising
But the
industry,
strangeness
everything.
itself
I mean-
is something that interests me,
Mm.
and that's the kind of thing when we have a Reverend Billy performance in a theater, and then the part of the audience that wants to go into the Disney store with me comes uptown, or if we do it here locally at St. Clement's, we just walk over.
No.
The feeling of going into this high church of retail
Yes.
and violating that ritual
Yeah.
is something that we talk about a lot when we debrief up at the Hojo's on 46th Street. We
Debrief and hold you.
thinking
right. Yeah.
we're thinking about what is it to discourage shopping in a way that competes with the imagery and message of that powerful place.
Right.
It's an emotional shift. It's a mood change.
Yeah.
You really understand how
Yeah.
physiological, maybe that's the right word, shopping is.
Yeah.
Shoppers come in, and I would be willing to bet
Yes.
that their heart rate changes.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That
Yes,
that
that's
all
it. Yeah.
the internal bio clocks that we have change.
Right.
The discharge of various kinds of fluids that
Yeah.
in the body that
Yeah.
change.
Yes, I'm sure.
Because people when we start a conversation with people in the Disney store,
You mean one of the customers or
one of the
staff?
customers,
Yeah, one of the customers.
or one of the staff.
And you're going to try and
The
win them
staff
over?
people are also trapped in there in a
Yeah.
particular
Well,
way.
they're all wage slaves in there.
Oh, they're all wage
Yeah,
slaves, and
yeah.
they have mixed
Yeah.
feelings about the Disney
Yeah,
company.
but they do, right? Probably some of them get a,
Probably
probably say,
some of them
right
are
on.
downtown
I'll bet some people
performance
say,
artists.
Right. Yeah, right.
Of course, the higher-ups who feel that they are the representatives of the company itself that are running the show, the manager and so forth, they have, I think, an interest in Disney that is more like that's the nation that they are citizens of.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because the Disney
No,
company really has replaced the national identity for lots of people.
Yeah, think how much the importance of buying things, commodities, is to the national psyche. It's the raison d'etre. As far as the people on the top, that's the raison d'etre of the people. Buy. And so you're saying that ought to be questioned. And probably there's a number of
It's
people
remarkable.
who might think that, right?
It's
Yeah.
remarkable how
Interesting,
difficult it
yeah.
is for people
It does have a
to
spiritual,
criticize
yeah.
Michael Eisner's
Yeah.
taking $1 billion out of the Mickey Mouse Company.
Yes, right.
It's remarkable,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
how difficult it is for them to consider the fact that it is a sweatshop company that does not allow monitoring of its factories.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
It's a sweatshop company. Their sweatshops used to be, their factories used to be in Haiti, in northern Mexico.
Yeah.
But now Disney's moved because Charlie Kernigan from the National Labor Committee
isn't he great?
discovered them, and now they have moved to the other side of the world.
Yes, that's
and you
right.
can't find their factories.
Everything's made in the back roads of China, right?
Yeah, you can't find their factories.
2 cents
So,
an hour, yeah.
and that I really have derive a certain satisfaction from being in the Disney store and shouting that everything in this store was made by 15-year-old girls in rural China,
right,
who are making 17 cents an hour.
Charles Kernigan's making a lot of headway with that, and on campuses it really resonates.
Yes.
In campuses it really resonates. There's beginning to be a movement against that, certainly. The exploitation of child labor is something that's very obviously done, but the exploitation of the consumerist society, or no, the opposition to the consumerist society itself is heavy-duty ground to be walking on,
you
where
need the one,
is the raison d'etre.
You need the one to have the other herald. You
Yeah,
need the drifting, hypnotized tourist shopper.
Tourist, yeah. Or,
you need that
yeah.
in order to have the 15-year-old girl in the out-of-the-way factory that nobody can find, making just a few cents an hour and trying to support a family of 10.
Yeah.
It's a part of one loop.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all one labor loop.
Yeah, yeah.
I happen to be, Reverend Billy in the Church of Stop Shopping
Yeah.
happens to be, on the tourist end of the loop. I'd love to travel with Charlie sometime. Is that a famous book?
Travel with Charlie. With Steinbeck, Travel with Charlie. Yeah, that was a good book.
Maybe someday I can travel with Charlie, but...
you mean Charlie Kernigan?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He's great. He's doing good stuff.
I'd love to go out there.
Well, he's taking that kind of
preach
thing.
in those factories.
But you may have even a bigger issue, if I may say so, and it's hard to start something like that. It was probably hard for...
Well, they're equally big issues.
I bet it was hard for anybody who started any kind of a movement. Muhammad had anybody had a hard time trying to start a movement where you're going... Copernicus, do you know what they did with him? And Galileo, when he said we're going around the earth instead of the sun and that sort of thing. I mean, it's hard when you got a new idea. It's hard. It's hard being an artist.
Well, I just want
but
to thank you for associating me with Chaplin, Copernicus.
Yeah, just to mention a few.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, and you're doing that kind of thing, and that question of the unquestioned acceptance of the idea of people getting their identity in a world where traditional spiritual values seem to be very, very much, they're allowing all kinds of exploitation of the human and the ecological environment of which we're a part. They're not taking it, there's exploitation going on all over. And, spiritual values seem not to be very strong or resonant with people and so forth. So they have retreated by default to consumerism as a way of trying to get some filling of a spiritual void. And that's a really big issue. And to come up against it and to saying you're not going to find the relief you think you're going to get by buying product X, Y, Z, and on to the 10th power that they're trying to do in advertising as a reason for being on this planet, it's a big issue, an anti-consumerist issue.
Well, Harold, you said that really well.
You said that really well. You're doing with some humor against it, and this could be expanded to other. This could be expanded beyond Disney, could it not? It could be expanded onto other things.
Yes, of course.
I don't know if we get to Bloomingdale's or Rudolph.
Yes, of course. I just happen to. I'm a story maker. I'm a playwright, so I'm aware of the need to pick your villain.
Yeah.
And so Mickey Mouse is so obviously the villain here. I have a friend who went to Tanzania.
Yeah.
And said that she saw Mickey Mouse's silhouette carved in the wall of a mud hut in a village that did not have running water or electricity.
Really?
So the reach of this famous Mickey Mouse silhouette is, it's hard to overestimate it. It's as if, well, as Reverend Billy says in one of his sermons, it's a physiological problem. Mickey's face is imprinted on each and every one of our body cells.
Yes,
it's getting to the point where we really, it's a physical thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You used to, have the symbol of the Berlin Wall. Or King George's tea, throw it into the bay.
Yeah.
How do you flush out a state disease?
Yes, right.
How do you free yourself from Mickey Mouse? Well, that's a real question.
Or the state of mind that wants to worship at the altar of Mickey
it's a
Mouse.
whole behavior loop.
What is that about?
It's a whole behavior loop.
I don't understand. It's like that kind of a thing. Well, so you've been doing this in New York now for how long is the church?
I think it's more than 3 years now.
3 years.
I've had, I would say, 3 or 4 separate plays that have different titles. Always Reverend Billy.
Yeah.
And in places like the St. Clement's Playhouse and the Here Theater and Dixon Place.
Yeah.
Most recently in the New York International Fringe Festival.
Oh, right. Good, good, good.
So
yeah.
we have been increasingly enjoying the commitment of larger and larger numbers of people from those audiences coming to the Disney store to have their shopping intervention.
Okay, let's talk about some of the geopolitical realities of this. When you go to the Disney store, you've gone there more than once, and what is the attitude of the Disney, let's say, people on the spot, let's say their friends at the local precinct house, and the people that are in the corporate headquarters and wherever that is in California or something? What's the attitude of having people go into their store and say, tourists, shoppers, stop shopping?
Well, you know, unlike their theme park in Orlando, they made a tactical error. They built this on one of the busiest intersections in the world.
The busiest intersection in the world, for your information, is 34th and 7th, just in case.
Well, 42nd and 7th can't be
It is?
Far below, right?
No,
it must be second or third.
It's in the same territory, but literally, the busiest corner in the world is 34th and 7th.
Well, that's really a crush
so you
there.
might want to know.
That's pedestrian lock right there.
Right.
You're talking
Macy's,
about
Macy's and
right at the Garden.
Yeah, right at the Garden.
Right at the Garden.
That's the busiest corner in the world. Yeah, as it happens. So
I'm not surprised. I mean, when I think of that corner, it's always a crowd.
Yeah. It's like Buffalo.
42nd and 7th
when they're going for
is
that
similar.
Long Island Railroad, boy, I tell you.
When they arrest me, the one time they arrested me, they put me in the back. They put me in the back seat of one of their cruisers.
Yes.
And
is it one time you've been arrested?
I've been arrested twice.
Twice. All right, twice.
At the present.
Do you feel like you'd want to talk about it and share it with us, Reverend, or you want?
Well, I just wanted to tell this one little story that was a part of one of the plays. They put me in the back seat of this cruiser, and I was handcuffed. And
into the system.
And it was a very interesting sensation, and it had something to do. I felt like it was reverse shopping or something. I was in this metal and glass bubble.
Right.
And I was surrounded by tourists who were around the car looking into the windows of the car as if I myself was some sort of product.
Right.
And I felt like shouting, "I'm Reverend Billy.
Yes, right.
I'm not a product of the Disney company." But I couldn't quite tell. It was very strange. Am I a product of the Disney company?
Yeah, right. Maybe you're just an extension.
It was their frame. I was on their shelf. The shoppers, or TSs as we call them, tourist shoppers, were pulling their
cameras,
Eeyores and Bambis and Herculeses out of their shopping bags and putting their purchases, their Disney tchotchkes, in the windows, and sort of as if to criticize me for having disparaged their
faith,
their shopping. They were bouncing these puppets in the windows, and so I was sitting there. I remember feeling really bad. It was getting to me. I was feeling lousy about myself. I was feeling lousy about my career. I thought, I'm just a downtown performance artist in this ridiculous situation.
And what did they pop you for? I mean, what was the charge, Reverend Bill? Billy? What was the charge?
I think the charge had to be, in reality, the charge was the interruption of shopping.
That's the charge?
That's the real...
Interrupting of shopping?
That's the real charge.
Yeah,
but what they called it, of course, was trespassing. That's what was on the...
I see.
The summons was trespassing.
Trespassing. You're not trespassing if you go in there and just go to get something. It's a public space. You go into a store and you can go.
It's a freedom of expression issue.
It's a freedom of expression
if they take,
issue. Where?
Harold, if
if you go to a shopping mall, can you not just say what you want?
You see, that's a question. That's a question. That's a legal area.
That's an important question.
That's a legal area that we would like to press.
You should be able to talk in the shopping mall in New Jersey.
We would like to argue that.
Yes.
They have taken the Village Common. They have taken from us the stoops. They have taken what Jane Jacobs would call the neighborhood.
Right.
And they have put it inside the outer skin surface of their stores.
Right.
They want the Village Common to be under their supervision.
Barnes
and Noble and then
so you can go there
Virgin
and
Mega.
Buy. It's not trespassing.
They want
you buy Eeyore.
They want you
Mickey,
to express
or
your community by buying.
Yes, that's
so you're no longer a citizen, you're a consumer. We said that.
Right.
But so if you go in there and you act like you're the amorous orator in the
Yeah.
village common.
Yes.
An old Kenneth Patchen phrase.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Am I
That's all right.
am I
No,
ruining?
Don't do anything untoward. Don't do anything untoward. I'm just saying, you know,
Hallelujah.
What I'm saying. Yeah, no, no.
I'm getting
I get
aroused.
carried- I
here.
understand, Bill.
I need a
understand,
pulpit.
Reverend. I understand, Reverend. I understand. Yeah.
If you
Because
take
it arouses
the
spirit. Yeah.
if you take the tradition of the village common and
Yes.
you put it inside what they say is
Call.
the new village common,
Yeah.
but you say something that intervenes with their shopping ritual.
That's a very
Should you
heavy
be arrested?
Yeah, right. Exactly right.
Of course you are arrested.
Yes, right. You are living proof, walking proof of the fact that you can be arrested on that charge.
And we've got a really wonderful tape, don't we?
Yeah, what tape? Oh, we want to show.
A tape of when the Disney store was turned into.
Yes.
Where do they have their debates in isn't there a famous park?
Hyde Park Corner in London?
Yes.
Well, Hyde Park
I'd
Corner.
like
Public
to
access
show you this.
television is Hyde Park Corner of television.
Yes.
You know, you can get up and say whatever you want. You shouldn't be restricting what you can say because you're standing. We ought to be able to even show Mickey Mouse and be disparaging.
We should have this famous
consumerism.
corporate logo right here.
This is the most subversive program we've ever done. We've done some doozies, you know.
Harold.
But anyway, so go on.
Thank you for another one. Can I put that on one of my posters?
Sure,
So,
absolutely, absolutely.
the most
By all means.
subversive show I ever. Harold.
One of the doozies.
One of the doozies.
Yeah,
There we
it's a
go.
little
Now that's
old-fashioned.
pretty good.
Yeah, but it's an old-fashioned term. I don't think it would help you out, you know.
Can we
like
play that tape?
But that's oh yeah, we got another tape we got set up. What is this one? You want to set it up?
Oh,
here
the
before?
performance artist Reno.
Yeah.
And a wonderful writer named Richard Bainbridge
Right.
helped me create a kind of town meeting inside the Disney store.
Inside the
and
town-
the
you want a
tourists
town meeting
start
in there?
joining in. They start debating with us.
Okay, well, let's set that tape up and run it now. We're talking with Reverend Billy. So let's set it up and run that tape inside the Disney store.
There we are. We're inside.
Yeah, okay. You can talk over the tape.
Okay.
We are suffering
We can't hear you in the studio, but I know that I'm shouting.
Here in Manhattan, a hypnosis has overtaken all of us on this once great island, and within a few months, by the year 2000, we will all be within a hellishly expanded Disney store.
Yes.
We will all be on the shelf. My children, please leave the Disney store at this time. As a side note, this Mickey Mouse was created by 14-year-olds in China who are hired because their hand-eye coordination is still sharp and they're given 19 cents an hour. Don't shop here at this time. Please quietly leave this store and take a 12-step recovery program.
I'm starting to run out of gas.
Right.
Clean yourself off of Disney products. I am Reverend Billy. I am urging you to leave the Disney store at this time.
It's so hard to do this. I'm almost ready to faint at
Is
this point.
turning
Yeah.
into
Yeah,
a
with nerves.
suburban mall.
Yes.
We're all turning into ghouls here. We don't even realize
into a clown.
hypnotized we are, people. Hallelujah. Please, that's right.
That's hard.
Leave the
That's
store.
hard to do in the face of all the ridicule and things.
Reno pointed out that the only people that interrupted me were
Leave your
other white males.
Interesting.
White heterosexual males were the people that...
Let's get upset, people. Let's wean ourselves off of Michael Eisner. Let's wean ourselves off of Donald and Pluto and Goofy and Tinkerbell and Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin and the Antichrist himself,
Mickey.
Mickey Mouse.
Oh boy, that's really
Evil.
something.
And they're ruining New York City. Please, let's leave this store now and save our souls.
Put me in the
Mickey
SPCA.
Mouse is
I never quite understood that.
Antichrist.
Why don't you stand your ground?
There we go.
That's a good point.
Well, that's what they said to Copernicus. That's what they
Hallelujah.
said to
Here
Copernicus.
we have a
That's what
tourist.
they said to Galileo. That's what anybody with a big idea. Columbus.
Now,
got
okay,
the
now
same
listen
thing.
to this.
It's like all you did was upset my grandma and that little girl over there. And you like,
See?
I mean, she was really
Galileo.
upset. She's just buying like some Mickey Mouse stuff.
That's the point. He's trying to make a point about Mickey Mouse
Yeah, well,
taking on the world. So that's what he's talking about. I mean, these people have enough money that they can just put a shop up anywhere. And so this is his right to talk also. I don't think he upset your grandmother. I think your grandmother ought to,
There's a New York.
Freedom of expression argument.
What people don't understand is these cute little animals, are corporate logos, people. They're not really animals at all. And it's getting to the point where we're going to be covered with these things. They'll be all over our bodies. We'll be buried in the grave when we die. We'll be like NASCAR Chevrolets. We'll be covered with Eeyores and Mickey Mouses and all these little Tinkerbell animals, goofy, hellishly smiling on our bodies. Meanwhile, we're broke, and Disney has all the money. Door.
There they go. There they are. There's the office.
Don't shop at the Disney store, please.
See? He changed. That's what they did to Columbus. Took him and changed. Brought him back and changed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, that was footage that actually took place. That's when you got put in the car? Is that when you got put in the patrol car, or is this another occasion?
No, that wasn't the occasion that I was put in the car.
And
they didn't arrest me this time.
They didn't arrest you, but they escorted you out by the authorities.
Yes, that's what they
police.
Prefer. They don't like it that I'm able to say that I was arrested.
On the street, yeah. And then if you go out on the street and you continue talking out on the street, do they give you a hassle? Suppose you stand right on 7th Avenue, 42nd Street.
They reserve the right to rescind. They reserve the right to rescind the sidewalk permit at any moment. So that's another one of Giuliani's quality of life issues. It may have always been that way, but right now they're harassing preachers.
They're harassing
street types of
any Hyde Park kind of thing where you're going to stand outside.
Well, it extends to shoe shines, sex workers, Really, you have to have a commercial reason for walking the streets of Times Square at this time.
Interesting.
You have to have a commercial reason for doing that. You have to have a credit card, basically. You have to be middle class.
Right, I see. Right. Well, that's what they're trying to do.
That's the quality of life idea.
Right.
And I think, well, you know how I think. I've been talking about it for almost an hour.
Yeah, almost for an hour here, and a lot longer than that. You know, it's really interesting where they said they ought to have, what would you call it? SSA, I guess, right? Stop Shopping Anonymous. You know, they should have a thing, a 12-step program for shoppers. You think they could have that kind of? Is there anything like that? They got it for gambling,
I believe
for
there
drinking,
is.
for drugs.
Isn't there a
shopping? Have a thing for people who go shopping.
Anonymous?
There should be, because
people can't stop shopping.
There are a lot of people that are running up huge consumer credit bills. Do you see?
Yes.
Now? I saw that in the people they go out and they buy these tchotchkes, as you say.
That means something to me.
And that really has to do with the national society.
It's a
big issue.
It's an issue that extends beyond just owing money.
It's a sort of addiction or something, right?
I think it means it's a kind of my liege. It's a kind of, believe me, I'm a serf and I owe my rent to you.
Right.
And you own the forest, and I'm not going to poach.
Recognition that we're coming into.
I owe everything to you, and any money that I'll make anytime soon goes to you. I mean, that's like a feudal manorial kind
company store. Yeah, feudal minority, my liege, and the old assizes, they got the courts and everything. Yes, because it's a sort of recognition we're coming into a kind of a feudalism that we're coming into, and that we're assuming our proper serfly role. And they're taking away Hyde Park Corner from us. We don't even have, in London at least, they still got Hyde Park. Well, they got one little corner, but you can't stand up on. They used to have demonstrations in Times Square, did they not? People who were opposed to going.
Now, of course.
Now they've got. I mean, right across.
Demonstrations are highly. They have little what they call demo pens.
Yeah, demo pens.
They have little demo pens.
Yes.
They put you off to the side in a little. Those sawhorses. Those
right.
Police barricades.
Yeah.
And inevitably, there are twice as many cops working on overtime.
Yeah, and they're going to make sure
as people you can arouse to come out and protest against the community gardens or whatever. It should be. Times Square used to be the place where 200 original dramas were staged each year. Indoors. Outdoors used to be a place of the Damon Runyon.
Yeah, living theater. Remember
the Jane Jacobs idea of the and now they both, and don't tell me they're not related. You've got musicals and revivals indoors, and as Arthur Miller said, Death of a Salesman wouldn't be produced in 1999. It can only be produced as a famous revival.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's
a brilliant move to say that when accepting that Tony Award.
Right.
And it's happening in indoors. And it's happening outdoors as well.
It's all done by our town fathers to make sure that the cash registers run on time.
Yes, and that's a theme park.
Mr. El Duce
That's a theme park.
Yeah, it's a theme park.
That's a theme park, and we let's
and that's
at least object.
Yeah, you object to it and do something to it. Now, this issue about your being able to talk there, or let's say if you were taking it across the street, or you were to go to Virgin Atlantic, you were to go to Kmart, you were to go to Tiffany's, you were to go to Rudolph Goodman's. I mean, can this thing not be expanded or could not be picked up on? And people who, in a certain sense, have a sense of, you know, some sort of take exception to the idea and the vapid kind of quality of so much of what this shopping is about and so forth. And what's going to happen out in the malls if somebody gets up and saying to the people in the mall, go out to a Jersey mall and say, leave this mall or something, or do not be here, or an anti.
That's why we have to do it here.
Thing.
We have to do it
here in New York
because
first,
there's a tradition for it.
It could grow up around.
There's a tradition for it. It's a tradition they would like to wipe out, but it's a tradition for it. Disney has a store, a flagship, highly symbolic retail store right on a sidewalk.
Is that right here in New York? Is that this
right
place?
42nd and 7th Avenue.
There,
it's right on a sidewalk.
Right in the heart
and
of
he
Damon Runyon country.
You know, he thought about what. I'm sure that he got assurances from Mayor Giuliani and so forth that we will clean up those sidewalks.
Yeah,
we will not. You will not have trouble from crazy people.
Crazy people.
You will not have prostitutes coming in there. You will not have. You will not have. You know, Rudy Giuliani's long list of people. Now he's killing the mentally disturbed. Now he's killing people who act weird. The last guy that got shot just jumped through an open window of a livery that was parked on the curb. He was just acting weird.
Right.
He wasn't attacking anybody. He was acting strange. And,
it turned
and on his radio show, Giuliani said, well, you know, he shouldn't have had a drug history, and he shouldn't have been acting strange.
Right.
You know, this man is not legal.
Yeah,
Rudy Giuliani's imagination is not legal.
Oh, I see what you mean.
He's a prosecutor running wild, and it goes.
Does he have resonance across the country as a political leader? He's going to run. Do you think that his talking this kind of view, it's going to end up like the Stepford Wives? You ever see that movie? Or Stepford Town?
Well, that's the
ideal like robots walking
for him.
Around and everything like
he
that.
Wants. He's
buying
the new. He's the new Oliver Cromwell.
They have to eat and
like little Pac-Man.
Consume like that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. But that's a very important part of what keeps the economy going.
Yes, well, that's what they say, but is it worth it? Is it worth it if we become ghouls in the process?
If we become ghouls in the process, right? I'm very interested in that kind of thing. Well, so what have the powers that be done as far as trying to bring some sort of you know, attention to the fact that you're doing this kind of a thing within a thing?
I have a certain number of journalists.
Could you do it in a shopping mall somewhere?
I have a certain number of journalists who writers, video people like yourself, people. There are certain people who don't work for Disney and have the guts to write about this issue because they're upset about the theme parkization of their own lives.
The theme parkization.
You know, there are. I had a recent story about the Church of Stop Shopping in the Associated Press, written by a wonderful writer named Ted Anthony.
Yeah.
It was picked up by 75 newspapers across the country.
Right.
He just decided, well, I am going to take this risk. Maybe I won't have to work for Disney sometime in the future. They own 30% of all the TV stations in the country.
Wow, that's
you
right.
You really don't know that you won't be up for a job with Disney, even if you don't work for Disney right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
it isn't Disney. It's a Disney-fied kind of place that runs the rest of the economy.
You've got to break up these big information cartels.
It's becoming very, very concentrated.
What's the difference between that and breaking up Rockefeller 100 years ago?
Yeah.
Come on, it's the same thing precisely.
Yeah.
I don't hear
anybody. It's a little more insidious even because it's getting right into the side. It's like Vance Packer. Remember he wrote The Hidden Persuaders and that kind of stuff, and that kind of thing. It's getting right inside.
You've got to break up these companies.
And the people don't even realize it.
Meanwhile, Harold, we have to break up the companies by defending ourselves as individuals. The individual is the church. It really comes down to the individual. So we have to practice inciting, bringing up our own magic selves in the face of Mickey Mouse.
Now, if you do street theater, if you do theater in the city, then you're going to be suspect by the authorities if you were to go out and do a little piece of theater or something like Abby and those guys.
More and more people are joining us.
Yeah,
we've got this,
more and more are going to start doing it.
We have a festival in December at the Judson Church.
Yeah, what is that? Talk about it.
It's called Millennium's Neighborhood.
I think we have a card we could put up too, maybe. I'm not sure. We have a graphic we could show. Yeah, talk about it.
It's a festival of artists and activists who oppose the theme parking of New York.
Yeah, right, okay.
And it's at the Judson Church down in Washington Square. And it starts on December 4th.
December 4th of 99.
And it runs through New Year's Eve.
It's going to go right through New Year's Eve,
And we will have an alternative millennial celebration down where we'll bring together, political people and artists, and we will have you know, surreal SWAT teams going into Times Square and confronting Dick Clark and Mickey Mouse. The you know, Viacom and Time Warner and Disney and all these folks that have ruined Times Square will be crowning themselves on New Year's night. They're hijacking the millennium. They will be crowning themselves. We will oppose that.
Yeah,
we will
oppose that.
We'll put acid in the water.
No, you're going to do
you know,
that,
we're going to find ways to change
so the
that
spirit
celebration
of the yippie lives a little bit like that.
They
and it
can't
needs to be.
have enough police, Harold.
Yeah, they're going
They cannot have enough Mickey Mouses. They cannot have enough police. It won't be permitted in New York City.
Right.
This is not a suburban mall. It is not
a suburban
It's
mall.
New York City. Hallelujah.
Yeah,
Praise
it is not
Harold.
a suburban mall. It doesn't have to all be to the level of a 12-year-old. They got the rest of the country, said Fran Lebel.
Praise be. You're preaching. You're preaching, brother.
Well, it's all, it's
hallelujah.
Well, I'm getting worried also about some activity because I had a friend of mine who's talking about the canines. And there's too many dogs that are acting strange. You know, they're going to reenact they had the House Un-American Activities Committee. They had the House do you remember that? You remember too young for that. House Un-American Activities Committee. They had a committee where they investigated un-American activities.
Certainly I remember it.
Yeah. And now they're going to have another one that's coming up, and it's dogs. They're doing things that are far too associated with their own ethnic identity.
This is Giuliani quality of life idea?
No, this is beyond Giuliani. This is a national
This is a parody.
thing. Yeah, no, it's a parody thing.
It's a parody.
Because the dogs
I'm trying to follow you here.
The dogs are refusing to be good Americans, you know, like you get a dog, you get a German Shepherd.
What is this? What are you talking about? Is this a comedy show you're describing?
No, this is something that they're thinking of bringing up another committee that would be the House Un-American Canine
You mean on a congressional level?
Yeah.
Or a parody of Congress?
We ought to be out.
It sounds like a Saturday Night Live bit.
That kind of thing. That kind of thing would be to, in order to be, the animals are getting out of hand. They're not being good all-American animals, and it's in the same kind of spirit like that they do. The animals are showing their own ethnic identities rather than being good all-American.
Mickey Mouse
and too many people in this world are not being good Americans.
Mickey Mouse is anti-American because Mickey Mouse stifles difference. Mickey Mouse stifles dreaming and tries to supervise it. Ultimately, the great revenge for us is to get together in small groups and let what life really is, which is a totally mysterious, complex thing, let life come out.
Yeah, right.
Not mediated by anybody. Life should not be a Disney production.
That's right.
Amen. I think we got some sort of bottom line there. Hallelujah.
Life should not be a Disney production. Right, that's right. And there should be some spontaneity allowed and everything like that. And it's being reined in and so forth in the name of consumerism and in the name of that. And it's a sad thing. Well, anyway, that committee would be called the House Un-American Canine Capers Committee because these canines are operating entirely too much in terms of their own ethnic identities rather than, you know, in terms of eating. You put a schnitzel before a German you put a schnitzel and a T-bone steak.
This is a wonderful way to end our interview. I love what you're doing.
Well, anyway, so this is it. So it's been a pleasure, Bill. I'm sorry we run out of time.
Harold Shanner.
Oh, and we do have one thing serious.
Honored to be here.
No, we have a real serious thing we want to do here. Our friend Sabah is putting on a
Turkish relief
thing for and this is serious, a relief activity at St. John the Divine, and we have a card that we want to put up and let people know about that because there was a terrible devastation in Turkey, and they're putting on an exhibition in the St. John the Divine Church on, I think it's the 23rd, the 23rd to the 23rd. There's going to be and we put up a card where people can get in touch with the information of how they can know about that. Yeah, that's to be supported. So we wanted to let people know about that, and we thank you for viewing. And Bill, thanks once again for coming in. Good luck on the work. Good luck on
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here.
It's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it. I'm glad it's you that's doing it, and I'll try to see if we can try and help you in it in some small kind of way. Your pleasure to have the Perceptions of Bill Talen, Reverend Billy, also known as Reverend Billy, and he's got a website, revbilly.com, and he's fighting the good fight for for authentic human living here in New York City and by example around the country. Again, Bill, once again, all the best to you, and thanks a lot for coming into Manhattan Network. We'll see you next week.